camera didn't glitch when I filmed the trees. It only glitched when I filmed him. I didn't notice it at first. I was recording footage for a school project, something about local wildlife and seasonal changes. The woods behind our neighborhood weren't special, just a thin stretch of trees separating the houses from an empty field. I'd walked through them 100 times growing up. There was a broken swing set near the center, a rusted frame someone had abandoned years ago. Kids used to dare each other to go there at night. I went in the afternoon, bright, quiet, safe. The first clip I recorded was normal. Leaves moving, birds calling, wind brushing against the microphone. When I reviewed it later that night, though, there was a faint humming layered underneath. Not loud, not mechanical exactly, just present. I assumed it was interference. The second clip was where it happened. I had been panning slowly across the tree line when the screen flickered, just for half a second. I thought my battery was dying. When I replayed it frame by frame, the glitch happened at the exact moment the camera pointed toward the swing set. And inside the distortion, there was something vertical, too straight to be a tree, too narrow to be a person. I told myself it was compression artifacts, digital noise. That's what happens when you zoom too far into shadows. The next day I went back. I don't know why. The woods felt the same, still, empty. The swing chains creaked slightly even though there wasn't much wind. I lifted the camera again and aimed at the same patch of trees. Nothing. No distortion. No figure. I stepped closer to the swing set. That's when the humming started again. Not from the camera this time. From everywhere. It wasn't loud enough to pinpoint, but it pressed against my ears like distant static. The kind you hear when a television loses signal at 3 in the morning. I lowered the camera and the sound faded slightly. When I raised it again, the screen flickered. Longer this time. I didn't see anything standing there with my own eyes. The space between the trees looked empty, but through the lens, there it was again. Closer. Not walking, not moving, just nearer. It didn't have detail. It didn't have features. It was like the camera couldn't render it properly. A tall distortion where the forest background warped inward toward a narrow shape. My hands started shaking. I told myself it was a trick of perspective, that the more I expected to see something, the more my brain would invent it. So I lowered the camera and stared directly at the trees. Nothing. Just bark, shadows, the broken swing. I lifted the camera again. The swing was moving now, slowly, back and forth. There was no wind. The humming deepened, vibrating in my jaw. I stepped backward without meaning to, but the camera stayed fixed on the tree line. The distortion stretched taller, as if unfolding upward beyond the frame. And then something changed. The background trees, they weren't aligned with reality anymore. Through the lens, they appeared closer to me than they actually were. The distance between the swing set and the forest edge had shortened, like the woods were leaning forward. I ran. Branches scraped my arms as I pushed through them, not daring to look back. The humming followed me all the way to my backyard fence. That night I reviewed the footage again, frame by frame. In the final seconds before I dropped the camera, the distortion had fully formed. A tall silhouette in a dark suit. No face, no eyes, but angled toward me, watching. I paused the video. The humming started again, not from the speakers, from behind me. I turned slowly toward my bedroom window. The trees outside looked farther away than usual. The swing set wasn't visible from my house. It never had been. But something tall was standing at the edge of the yard, half hidden between two trunks that shouldn't have been that close together. The video on my laptop flickered. The distortion wasn't in the woods anymore. It was inside my room, behind my chair. The camera didn't glitch when I filmed the trees. It only glitched when I filmed him. And he isn't in the trees anymore. He's behind the camera now. I found the first note taped to my son's bedroom wall. It wasn't there the night before. I know that because I'm the one who checks his room before I go to sleep. Closet, window, under the bed. I don't believe in monsters, but I believe in routines. The paper was plain, torn from a notebook. 3 words written in pencil. Do not look. I assumed it was something he'd written himself. He was 7, imaginative, always drawing strange things in the margins of his homework. But when I asked him about it at breakfast, he just shrugged. He doesn't like when you look at him, he said. I asked who. He didn't answer. That night I went through his sketchbook while he slept. Most of the pages were normal, stick figures, trees, houses, our dog. But then I found the repeated drawing, a tall figure beside a much smaller one, always standing near trees, always faceless. Sometimes the smaller figure had my son's name written above it. Sometimes it didn't. I closed the book and told myself, kids draw strange things all the time. The second note appeared 2 days later. This one was taped to the inside of the front door. He sees you. My wife thought it was a prank. Maybe one of the neighbor kids. But there were no signs of forced entry. No footprints in the yard. That night, my son asked if he could sleep with the lights on. He gets closer when it's dark, he whispered. I sat beside his bed until he fell asleep. Around midnight, I heard the humming. Low, almost beneath hearing, like distant electrical wires vibrating. I stood and walked to the window. The backyard was still. The tree line at the far end of the property looked unchanged, but something about the spacing felt wrong, as if the trunks stood closer together than before. The third note wasn't inside the house. It was nailed to one of the trees in our yard. I don't know when it got there. I don't know how I didn't notice someone hammering into wood. Don't follow. My son disappeared the next night. No broken glass, no open doors, just an empty bed and a window raised a few inches. The police searched the woods behind our house for days. They found nothing. No footprints, no fabric, no trail. I went out there myself after they left. The humming returned as soon as I crossed into the trees. I brought a flashlight. I don't know why. Part of me already understood. The beam cut through branches and bark until it landed on something white pinned to a trunk deeper in. Another note. I approached slowly. The paper trembled slightly, though there was no wind. Don't look at him. My throat tightened. Dad? The voice came from behind me. Small, familiar. I almost dropped the flashlight. Dad, I'm over here. It sounded like my son. Too clear, too close. My hands shook. Every instinct told me not to turn around. The note in front of me felt heavier than paper. Don't look. The humming deepened. Dad? Closer now, right behind me. I squeezed my eyes shut and turned. I told myself I wouldn't look, that I would grab him without opening my eyes, that I would trust my hands instead. I reached forward. My fingers touched fabric, cold, smooth, not a child's jacket. I opened my eyes. There was no face, no features, just pale, stretched skin where a head should have held expression. The body was impossibly tall, the suit hanging straight and unnatural against it. It didn't move. It didn't need to. My son stood a few feet behind it, completely still, looking up at it. Dad, he said softly without looking at me. He told me not to look. The humming swallowed everything. The trees leaned inward. The flashlight flickered and died. I don't remember falling. I don't remember closing my eyes. But when I woke up, I was alone at the edge of the woods. Morning light, police sirens in the distance, my wife screaming somewhere behind me. They never found him. They never found footprints. They never found signs of anyone else being there. But sometimes, late at night, when I stand in his empty room, I see new drawings on the wall. A tall figure, a smaller one beside it, and one more shape added recently. My son never looked at him. But when I turned, he did. I've driven that road 100 times. There has never been a left turn. Thursday nights were mine. I'd drop my girlfriend home around 11, wait until her porch light flicked off, then drive. No destination, just movement. The quiet hum of tires against asphalt felt like pressing pause on everything else. The road outside the south end of town was my usual route. 2 lanes, patchy pavement. A sudden right curve you had to slow for or risk drifting into the ditch. I knew every crack in it. That's why the left turn shouldn't have existed. It appeared just past the old garden shop, a narrow road splitting away into open darkness. No sign, no streetlight, just blackness stretching outward like it had always been there. I slowed instinctively. I told myself I must have missed it before. Maybe I'd never noticed. Maybe I'd just never looked. I signaled, out of habit more than necessity, and turned. The air felt different immediately. The trees that usually crowded the roadside were gone. Instead, flat farmland stretched endlessly on both sides, low hills rising in the distance like walls. The city lights disappeared behind me faster than they should have. I checked my rearview mirror. Nothing but empty road. I turned up the music to fill the silence. Something classic and loud. Something grounding. The road ran perfectly straight. Too straight. After 10 minutes, I should have reached another highway or at least a farmhouse. Instead, the hills on either side began creeping closer. Slowly at first, then noticeably, like the land itself was narrowing. I felt it before I saw it. That prickle at the base of the spine. I glanced at my rearview mirror again. For a second, just a flicker, something tall occupied the back seat. Not slouched, not leaning, just sitting upright behind me. I jerked my head around. Empty. My back seat was empty. I laughed once, sharp and nervous, and told myself it was fatigue. But when I looked forward again, my headlights seemed shorter, dimmer. The darkness ahead swallowed more than it should have. I reached for the turn signal to make a U-turn. The clicking sound echoed inside the car, louder than usual. In the rhythm of the signal, I saw it again, but not behind me. Ahead, standing in the center of the road, too far to make out clearly, too tall to mistake for a person. The clicking stopped. My signal light went dark. The figure was gone. I completed the U-turn and pressed the accelerator harder than I should have. Gravel spit from beneath my tires. In the mirror, headlights appeared. Another car. Fast, gaining on me. Relief washed over me. I wasn't alone out here. The car approached rapidly, then swerved into the oncoming lane to pass me. As it did, the driver's side window aligned with mine for half a second. I turned to look. The driver looked exactly like me. Same jacket, same hands gripping the wheel. But where his face should have been, there was nothing. No eyes, no mouth. Just smooth, pale skin reflecting dashboard light. The car shot past me and disappeared into the darkness ahead. I slammed my brakes. My chest tightened so violently I thought I might black out. The hills were closer now, almost touching the road. The air inside the car felt damp, heavy. When I checked the mirror again, something was there. Not in the back seat, closer. Directly behind my headrest. I couldn't see it fully, just the suggestion of a shoulder in a black sleeve. A faint outline where there shouldn't be space for one. I didn't turn around this time. I stared straight ahead and pressed the gas pedal to the floor. The road began widening again. The hills pulled apart. City lights shimmered faintly in the distance. Whew. I exhaled. A hysterical laugh escaped my throat. I blinked once, and the figure stood directly in front of the car. No transition, no movement, just there. Close enough that I should have collided with it instantly. I swerved violently. The car flipped. Metal screamed against asphalt. Glass shattered. Everything spun into black. When I opened my eyes, I was in my bedroom. Morning light filtered through the blinds. No bruises, no broken bones, no wreckage. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A local news notification. A vehicle was discovered overturned late last night on Route 19. Authorities report no driver was found at the scene. My car model, my license plate. The image attached to the article showed twisted metal in a ditch. I dropped the phone. From the hallway outside my room, I heard a soft clicking sound. Like a turn signal. Slow, steady, waiting. And I realized something worse than the crash. There has never been a left turn. But now, every time I drive that road, I see one. I checked the peephole twice. The first time it was empty. The second time it blinked. I hadn't even meant to look. I'd woken up suddenly, heart racing for no reason I could name. My apartment was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that feels staged, like the world is holding its breath. The clock on my phone read 12:03 a.m. I lay there for a moment, waiting for whatever had startled me to repeat itself. Nothing did. No footsteps in the hallway, no doors slamming, no voices drifting through the walls. Just stillness. I told myself it was a dream. Still, I got up. The floor was cold under my feet as I walked toward the kitchen. I decided to make coffee. I don't even like coffee at night, but it gave me something to do. Something normal. As I passed the front door, I felt it. A chill, not a draft, not winter air. It felt directional, like standing in front of an open freezer. I paused, staring at the deadbolt. Locked. The chain. Fastened. I exhaled and continued into the kitchen. The coffee machine hissed softly. Familiar sounds, comforting sounds. I focused on the steam rising from the mug, on the smell filling the air. But the silence returned, heavier this time. I don't know why I went back to the door. Maybe I just wanted proof that nothing was there. I leaned forward and pressed my eye to the peephole. Darkness, thick and swirling. Not the dim hallway light I was used to seeing. Not the patterned carpet, just black. I blinked. The darkness shifted, not like someone moving, like something adjusting. Then it was gone. The hallway appeared normal again. Beige walls, framed fire extinguisher, the neighbor's welcome mat crooked near their door. I stepped back quickly, pulse hammering in my ears. I waited. 10 seconds, 20. Nothing happened. I told myself I'd imagined it. That's when the metal around the peephole made a faint clicking sound. Soft, precise. I froze. Slowly, carefully, I leaned forward again. This time the hallway was visible immediately. But it felt wrong. The perspective seemed slightly stretched, like looking through a lens that bent straight lines. And at the far end of the corridor, near the stairwell door, something stood where nothing should have been. Too tall, too narrow, the head almost brushing the ceiling tiles. It wasn't moving. It didn't need to. I couldn't make out a face. The light above flickered faintly, and where features should have been, there was only smoothness. Like unfinished skin. My breath fogged the inside of the peephole. The figure didn't approach. It didn't gesture. It just stood there, angled slightly toward my door. Toward me. The coffee mug slipped from my hand and shattered against the floor. I stumbled backward as hot liquid splashed across my ankle. The pain barely registered. The hallway light outside flickered harder. Then the deadbolt turned. Slowly, without a sound. The chain went slack next, metal sliding against metal. I scrambled to my feet and ran toward my bedroom. Every instinct told me not to turn my back, but every instinct also screamed to get away from that door. The handle creaked. The door opened. Not slammed. Opened. I reached the bedroom and slammed it shut behind me, locking it even though I knew it wouldn't matter. The humming began. Low, vibrating through the walls, through the floorboards, through my teeth. My lights flickered once. Twice. Then everything went dark. I don't remember hitting the ground. When I woke up, it was morning. White ceiling, antiseptic smell, a hospital monitor beeping steadily somewhere nearby. My sister was sitting next to the bed. Her face looked pale, concerned. She told me the neighbors found me unconscious near the front door. Said it looked like I'd fallen. The doctors asked if I'd hurt myself. They said the damage to my ears looked deliberate. Ruptured. As if I'd tried to block something out. They couldn't explain the burns on my leg either. The door had still been locked when they arrived, deadbolt in place, chain fastened. They said there was no sign anyone had entered. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. My room was on the 3rd floor. The first night I couldn't sleep. Every hum from the fluorescent lights made my chest tighten. Around midnight, I noticed condensation forming on the outside of the window. Strange because it hadn't rained. Slowly, thin streaks began to drag downward through the moisture. Long, parallel, like fingers sliding across glass from the outside. There was no balcony, no ledge, nothing to stand on. And when I leaned forward to look closer, the faintest shadow stretched across the window frame, tall enough that its head should have scraped the roof above me. I didn't check the peephole again after that. But sometimes when I close my eyes, I still see it. Not moving, just waiting in the hallway, facing my door.
Thanks for sipping tonight's tale with Haunted Brew. Don't forget to subscribe, and sleep tight if you still can.